Hey everyone, it's Rob here. We've got our, obviously, Patty McGill.
Hey, everyone.
He is working remotely today. But we have a really awesome guest, Craig Cannings from freelanceu.com, the Freelance University. So really excited to bring him on. He has built a fantastic business along with his wife. Not to take full credit, right, Craig? So
Not at all.
So yeah, Craig, maybe say hello to everyone that's watching us live and on the replay, and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you guys are doing.
Sure. Hey, everyone. So my name is Craig Cannings, and I had the pleasure of co-creating and co-founding a business with my wife in 2008. And that could be a session in itself, how to run a business with your wife. And it's I think we've done it fairly successfully by knowing each other's lane. She's got her expertise and I've got my skill set. And so it's been good. So before then, just to back up a little bit, so my wife and I both actually worked with her brother in a software startup going back in 2003. So 15 years ago, that's where I got my start on the internet. And my role with the company was training and development. So we went from 3 of us to 40 virtual staff. So it wasn't in a physical office, it was a virtual office in a span of 24 months. And so my job was to train. So I was creating videos and manuals and all sorts of things to onboard all of these new team members into our business. And as I was doing this, I kind of realized I had a bit of a knack for training, and I actually loved it. And so years later, in 2008, we out of that initial sort of training and development emerged this idea of training a virtual workforce. So back then, we were hiring virtual assistants and freelancers. Although we didn't call them virtual assistants back then, we just had a 40-team virtual workforce. And we realized that other companies were going in the same direction as us. And so I realized that there was this sort of movement of sort of outsourcing tasks to, on a project by project basis to freelancers, and that maybe we should create some sort of training hub to support the freelancers. And that's where we created in 2008 our first iteration of our university, which initially was pretty archaic. We had one course. We started with 7 students. And it was just more of an internet marketing sort of track that we had. And then over the years, so we run the university now for 11 years. And it's interesting. We just, in the first few years, we just were adding more courses depending on what the students wanted and what they needed. And so I went on sort of this course creation frenzy where I was creating almost 2 to 3 courses a month. I was creating like 30 or 40 courses a year. And I was just burning myself out with content. Even though I liked doing it, I was basically in this course creation launch mode. So I would create a course, launch the course, create a course, launch the course. And it just turned out to be a crazy, unsustainable model. And what we found actually is that all of our course launches aren't created equal. And so we would have this, from a revenue standpoint, we had sort of a mountain range. So we'd have like, oh, they liked that course. No, they didn't like that course as much. And so it was a very unpredictable business because from month to month, we never knew sort of what our revenue cash. And so I remember this was going back to 2016, actually. I was meeting a bunch of guys at a mastermind event in Phoenix. And I was in the hot seat at the time, and I was telling them about my launch schedule and the new courses I was going to roll out. I was just staying in the same crazy track that I was on. And the 3 of them that were in the room basically stopped me and said, wait a sec. What you're doing is ridiculous. Like, this is crazy. You may know how to do launches and courses, but you're burning yourself out and you're actually not really growing your business in a healthy way. And I don't know, a lot of you can relate that when you're a solopreneur, and it was just me and my wife at the time, you get in this vacuum where you don't realize what you're doing is unsustainable and doesn't make sense. And so one of them said, what would you think about taking all of those amazing courses you created, because we had about 70 of them, and turn it into a subscription model where you give them everything for a monthly fee. And from there, the light bulbs went on, and we eventually created sort of, as you called it, a Netflix style university for freelancers and virtual assistants. And we've never looked back. And so when we switched that model, I think I was telling you guys at the outset that we also changed our learning platform over to Thinkific, which has been by far one of the greatest decisions we've made. And so the new model combined with the new technology, we were flying after that. And for the last 3 years, we've had really steady, sort of predictable growth as opposed to the craziness that we had in the first few years of our business. So it's been good. It's been really good.
Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I know Patty has a ton of questions ready to go. I can tell already, but really excited to have you on here, Craig. Thanks so much for joining us. If you guys are watching this live, say hello in the comments. Just let us know that you guys are there. And also, if you're looking to build a membership course, sort of like the subscription-based membership model, drop your questions. Tell us kind of what you're building, and we've got the man here to ask those kind of questions because he's been through it all and has a really successful site and membership now. So, Patty, did you have a question there? Did you want to start off with?
Yeah, I just want to first of all ask. So first of all, Craig, like, congrats on making that transition. What I wanted to know first was that how was you getting the information from your students about what they wanted to learn when you was doing this, course building marathon at the start?
Yeah, so we would regularly survey them. So SurveyMonkey back then was my BFF. And so we were constantly sending new surveys on things that they wanted. And I also had built this advisory team of entrepreneurs that readily hired VAs and freelancers. And so they were my advisory team. And I would ask them, what are you looking for? Oh, you're now using Infusionsoft and you don't have a clue on how to use it. Oh, well, maybe there's some demand to do some Infusionsoft training. So surveys combined with an advisory team and just doing a lot of market research helped us to always predominantly create courses that they wanted. Although, like I said, some were more popular than others. So surveying is definitely, and now I use Google Forms, I use Typeform. Both of those tools are really good. And actually, what we got into in the last 2 years is we now use a Net Promoter. So we kind of get our Net Promoter score every year in terms of how our students are enjoying their experience with us. And then through that, when they leave their comments, we often get a lot of ideas for courses. They're like, I love this, or I'd love you to see you doing more of this. So all of that together has helped us to try to stay relevant.
And what do you do to prioritize what the people want? Now obviously your audience has grown quite a lot. How do you prioritize what they want or what you should be building next?
Well, again, it's based on market demand. So I'll give you an example. So when we created our university model, we wanted to create it like a traditional university where there were tracks. Like at a university, you could be on the engineering track or a business admin track. Mm-hmm. And so for us, we're more in the technology and marketing space. So we've got a digital marketing track. We have a separate social media track because it's so popular. We've got a content creation track, a technology support track. And we created those purely out of demand from what we heard people saying. But we realized that our students kept coming back to digital marketing. It's kind of been our bread and butter for the last 10 years. Our first course was the Internet Marketing Virtual Assistant Program. That's when we were purely training virtual assistants. And now we just recently released a new one called the Digital Marketing Specialist Program. So anything around digital marketing seems to get a lot of traction. And the great thing about Thinkific is we can now go in, and we didn't have that capability in our last platform where we can go in and track learning progress and kind of be big brother for our students, where we're like, okay, we could see what courses they're enrolling in more than others. And that also helps to determine popularity, in addition to the surveys, in addition to feedback, things like that.
So do you use, so I'm assuming that you use like the customer success, the student success. Is that based on like completion rates, or do you use like a combination of, how long maybe it took for them to complete their course and stuff like that? Yeah, mostly a student completion. We love looking at those. And we actually have, we really have got to use a lot of the integrations that Thinkific has. And it's actually, it enlarged our capabilities of some of the things we could do. So for our students, we didn't realize early on that certifications are a big deal for them to actually tangibly, not necessarily that they print out and hold it, but they get something digital that they can socialize through LinkedIn, or they can post on their website, or on the directory that we have, because we have a professional directory as well. And so when we connected Incredible, we said to the students in our community, we want to celebrate you. So when you complete a certification, share it. Tell us about how you thought the course was. And so all the time, our Facebook group is flooded with people that have completed these courses. And then they're getting a lot of positive reinforcement saying, you completed a 10-hour, 10-module, multi-quiz course. That's a lot of work. That's a great accomplishment. So it's helping them. Not only it's helping to sort of motivate them, but I think it's motivating for everyone else, saying, wow, this is one success step. It doesn't mean that you have a thriving full-time freelance business yet,
but you've taken a step closer. You've developed skills that a lot of people don't have out there that are in demand. And so yeah, we love Accredible and how the integration works with Thinkific.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear you take advantage of it. And it's really great to hear someone talking about the power of the certification and just that little like dopamine hit that it can give people, certainly when they're sharing it out. One thing I wanted to ask, which was the transition from selling one-off courses. So back in the day when you were selling these one-off, was it like a varied price, or did you have a fixed fee, like one fixed flat fee for every course that you would sell?
Yeah, well, when we got into a place where we were selling a lot of courses, I categorized them into sort of certifications and mini courses. So some were more just purely skill development, and they might be live workshops that we would do on a webinar style for 90 minutes. And then we had our larger certifications, which were multi-modular, quiz-based programs. And so we had a different price structure. So the one might be $400 and a workshop might be $97 or something like that.
I see. And how did you what was it like? Because you mentioned that, when you heard about this like membership model, it was like a light bulb going off in your head. But what was the transition like to go from, a completely different pricing strategy? Because it is wildly different. And I'm assuming the pricing is going to be maybe a little bit less compared to obviously maybe like the one-off price. So was it hard for you to get your head around that?
Yeah, it freaked me out, actually. I'll be honest with you. We went through this. When I decided to make that change, it was sort of this step of faith where I was like, I had held tightly to a la carte model where we sell courses pricing per courses, to a model where we did some surveying to see if people would like the idea. They were positive about it, but you never know until you flip the switch. And so we went to a model where we were selling now all of our courses, 70 courses for under $70 a month. So our price point was $67, or they could do an annual package, which was cheaper at $597. It was, and that was somewhat our selling benefit, because we said, if you've been around for a while and you've taken these courses, you're now going to get access to all of these courses that are, they're not this fictional value that you sometimes see on marketers' pages. It's valued at $20,000. We knew it because just 2 months ago, we were selling the course for $400, and now we've rolled it all up under one hood. And so the first launch did okay, but it was still enough to make us a bit nervous. We're saying, okay, we got pretty good traction. And then the second launch, it took off. I remember it was January of 2017. We started with Thinkific in 2016. And in January 2017, I don't know what happened that time, but everyone was ready to buy. It was like, they saw the value. They're like, this is incredible that I get access to all of these potential income opportunities, because that's what we sell. We don't just sell courses. We sell new income streams for freelancers and VAs. And it took off. And so what we've seen now, I mean, we're probably better as a company on student retention now than marketing and recruiting new students. Is probably more of our strength. But now we're seeing sort of the back end of our funnel really fan out, so that as students have come in, we now have a lot of these product evangelists or student evangelists. And now we're seeing a lot of referrals come in from people that are just really loving this all access, all in one community that is really warm and supportive as well.
Awesome.
That's great to hear. It's nice to hear you. It's nice to hear that you were definitely thinking that, oh my gosh, what's going to be next for us if we go to that membership model, because that's exactly what I was thinking when you mentioned that, because I thought, but that sounds super positive, but I'm pretty sure he's probably thinking like, what the hell's going to happen? But it sounds to me
totally. I was just going to say, it was also that thought of maybe my dad was right. I need to go get a real job. Like this moment. But I'm so glad we made the shift, and it's been it's been awesome.
That's really good. Great questions, Patty. I've got a couple here. I want to say hello to Saley, who's on the Facebook Live, and also Rob Galvin, good friend of ours.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
And got a couple questions here on YouTube. Actually, two of them are the same from YouTube and Facebook. One from Stephen Smith are any of the site course content contributed from external instructors? And if so, how do you handle revenue share? And then also from Amy Fraughton on Facebook Live is also asking the same question. Do you have any other trainers bringing in content? If so, how do you compensate?
Right. Well, it's interesting. When we switched the model in 2016, I had this vision of scaling quickly. I think I just read an article on 10xing your business. And so I was like, I'm going to recruit a whole swack of instructors in areas that I'm not skilled in. And we're going to build this massive library of courses. And I kind of started moving in that direction and realized that, to grow that fast would not provide the quality that our students were used to. And that because they were so used to me teaching, for me to pull myself away from it entirely was not a wise business move as well. And so we slowed down, and we basically have added about 7 instructors over a 2-year period. So people, for example, I'm not a WordPress expert. And so we hired a WordPress expert. I'm definitely not an Infusionsoft expert. So we hired an Infusionsoft person. So people in specializations that are just smarter than me and are a better instructor in certain areas. And so the way we've structured it, it's interesting. We looked at models like Skillshare and Udemy being more of a revenue share model, Skillshare more being a pay per minute model. And we wanted something that was more constant so that we could actually give our students the same predictable revenues every month, so that they wouldn't feel like, oh, I got more views this month, and then it's kind of up and down. And so we have sort of a flat annual rate, or they can get paid out on a semesterly basis too, for our certification courses, for our skill courses, and then for our workshops. So we have a 3-tier pricing plan based on the size of the course. So a certification course is 10 to 15 hours. A mini course is 4 to 8 hours. And then a workshop is 1 to 2.5 hours. Or 1 to 2 hours, somewhere in there. So we've priced them based on the level of investment they would take to have to create a course for us. And so what we've done is, and I could give you numbers on it, but so we have this tier structure. And so after a year, we cut it in half. So we're really big on evergreening our courses and making sure there's never a course in our university that is out of date. And so these instructors are committed. They get 50% of the revenues in the second year to purely update it. It doesn't mean they need to create the whole thing over. They may need to create a couple new tutorials. They may need to create a couple new modules, but they're constantly looking at it to make sure it's staying current and relevant to our students. And so that model's worked really well. And I guess one strategy we use to pick instructors that maybe some of you might find helpful, I call it, and I'm willing to share this strategy because it's worked so well, I almost want to not tell you, but it's what I call the diamond in the rough strategy. And so what we did is I had my one of my virtual assistants here go out and research people that were training or just on the cusp of teaching. They didn't necessarily have a massive following. They weren't necessarily the top performer in Skillshare or Udemy. But when you listen to them, you said that person is an engaging teacher. And so we would evaluate them based on their ability to engage us. And we're like, they were impressive. And so we've been able to recruit people that are on the front end of their instructor or e-learning career, but they're super talented, and we provided a nice revenue stream for them. The other thing I was going to say, and some of you might find this interesting, is so we have 2 layers. So we've got our instructors, and then we have our teaching assistants. We call them mentors. And one of the things that we've invested more money than anything in our business, even more money than Facebook ads or marketing, is on, student experience. And so we have 7 paid mentors within our Facebook group, each based on a specialized track. So one of them is a WordPress expert, one of them is a social media consultant. And so they respond to our student questions based on their area of expertise. And so the way we pay them is actually on a dollar value per student within the Facebook group. So let's say we have 1,000 students within a Facebook group, and we pay them $1 per student. They get $1,000 per month. And so the reason we did that is we wanted them to grow with our business, so they could say, not only is this, not only do I love supporting these students, but this is a good income opportunity for me. And as the company grows, then my revenues are going to grow. And that has been an incredible way to motivate them. And so we have, and I'm super biased, but we probably have one of the most engaging, sticky sort of community groups out there because of our mentors and that model that's worked really, really well.
That's super smart. Super
really
smart. I've not heard of anything.
I hope everyone is everyone's taking notes. I mean, this is, I think the big question is like, how do you scale a membership? One of the next questions here, and I think this is a good lead up from Amy inside the Facebook Live, is how do you keep them as lifers? Like, how do you, I guess, maintain, I guess, the lifetime value and make sure that retention is good for all of your members? And I think you touched on it. The community is a big part of that. Yeah, Craig, would you say?
Yeah. So you think of like that traditional training model. Like I used to be in e-learning and corporate training where it was like this, you've heard of the 70-20-10, where it's like 10% is online courses, 20% is social learning, like community-based learning, and then 70% is hands-on, so the kinesthetic learning. And so we've switched those numbers a little bit. So we're like 25% online courses, 50% community, and 25% hands-on learning. And within our university, we have what is called the Software Sandbox. So we go out and purchase premium software, for example, lead pages. So the students can't use it to market their clients, but we've created a sandbox for lead pages, optimized press, all these other platforms so that they can do that 25%, which is take the course, but then practice the heck out of it so that when you get to do this with a client, you've mastered it and you can provide a really awesome service to them. But the 50% in the middle is where the money is. And often we've heard students say, I came for the courses, which they're good. I definitely believe we have great courses. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be in business. But they stay for the community. So they come for the courses and they stay for the community because they can come at any time during the day or night and get amazing support because we've built a mentor base across time zones. So we have one in the UK, one in Australia, East Coast, West Coast. And so there's someone very accessible to them at all times. And it's invaluable when you're working with a client and you're completely stuck to have a place to go to get unstuck and to get support like on the fly. So our community is, I believe, is an invaluable way to retain students long-term. If you don't have a great community, and the thing I would say to some of you listening, sometimes, and don't take offense to this, but sometimes we go a little cheap with our community where we're like, we're going to take our evangelists that love us and we're going to have them volunteer for us. And there's nothing wrong with having volunteer-led mentors. But when you put an incentive package to them where they get monetary gain by seeing our community not decline, but grow, it adds a layer of motivation that they'll get more creative. They'll invest a little bit more that will keep our student retention rates at a high level. Mm-hmm. So I think the thing at our university that we talk about, guys, is we're more focused on churn rates than conversion rates. And so I care more about losing students and that they weren't impacted or they didn't get the results that they're looking for than I am on getting a new customer or a new student. Because I know that if we can support the students and if we can give them an incredible experience, they will share it. And we will have these natural product evangelists that will tell hopefully the world about us. So that's always been the sort of the mantra of our company.
That's very interesting. It's a lot like how a SaaS or a software business measures a lot on its churn. How much churn, how many people are leaving on a monthly basis. Very interesting. You're probably they were actually the first person I've spoken to as a course creator that's put the emphasis on that, but specifically using that term as well. But when we're talking about mentors, then what is like some of the really cool or really like innovative ways that people or these mentors, what are some of the key things that they've done to really like where they've got your attention, go, wow, I didn't think of that, or that was amazing. Right. That's had such a great response.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit that whole side is spearheaded by my wife. So Kelly's brilliant at supporting the community, but she's come up with what she calls is our ICS, which is our intentional caring strategy. So it's really about how do we, it's not just a university for us. This is like almost a family, right? So we want people to feel that they're cared for. And so how do you practically care for someone in a digital way where you never see them other than on Facebook? And so we do things. So we encourage our mentors to, sometimes they will have one-to-one chats. So they'll get out of Facebook and connect with, they'll go beyond the Call of Duty sometimes. We have giveaways that we do. We'll give away swag like shirts or coffee mugs or fun things just to engage them. So we'll do usually monthly giveaways. We also we'll do a lot of feature of students. So we'll feature their success stories, and it's not always like grandiose success. I landed this 6-figure client. It's not necessarily like that. It's like sometimes small ones that we'll feature them, we'll interview them, things like that. We also have we recognize that our mentors have unique skill sets, and we want them to share those skill sets with our community. So each one of them has a day where they share their expertise in the form of a video, in the form of a resource that they found, in a form of a quick series of tips. So for example, Monday is digital marketing, Tuesday is content creation, Wednesday is tech support. And so they have to come up with highly creative, very engaging posts. And that helps to increase our overall engagement rates in our community as well. So those are a few ideas that we're working on.
Fantastic.
It's a work in progress though.
No, it always is. There's always something new. There's always new strategies to be executed and worked on. I want to quickly ask you, what are like somebody, and this is, I'm going slightly off topic here, but what are like some of the really like on fire, very, very popular areas right now for freelancing, or where would you say that you're getting the most interest in terms of the courses that you're selling?
Yeah, so content never seems to get old. You know, I started in this industry in 2003, and back then we were writing keyword optimized articles. That was sort of the way and distributing them to article banks. But even in this day and age, it's now, entrepreneurs need help to manage their content, and we created a course a couple months ago that's built on Thinkific that's called Course Builder. And we basically teach people how they can work with their clients to set up and manage courses for them. Because as you guys know, I mean, you guys don't just have expert course creators coming to you. You have coaches, authors, speakers, different entrepreneurs that don't come necessarily from a background of teaching and education and online course creation. And they may not even have the technical skills to go through or even the time to manage that on a daily basis. So definitely digital marketing is huge. Content creation, content marketing, content creation is huge. Tech support. So we have courses in ConvertKit, MailChimp, Lead Pages, Optimized Press, all things WordPress. Those seem to be never ending. We have a lot of clients that support a lot of students that support their clients in WordPress, either through just being like WordPress maintenance packages or design program packages, things like that. So those would be definitely some hot areas. And just virtual administration is still big. There's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that have a pretty disorganized business and they need someone to come and clean things up and get them on track. And so virtual administration is, I've always been a big proponent of VAs. Everyone should have one. And I think that, really helps you focus on your unique abilities and the things you do well in your business. So that's another big area as well. Yeah,
it's a really good point and a great take home for a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are trying to do everything all on their own, perhaps, but where it's not their specialist skill or their specialist, the specialist function. You have to outsource it. And we've interviewed so many entrepreneurs, and you got like Jeff J. Hunter, who's always a big proponent of that as well. So I want to talk a bit more about your podcast, because not only now are you launching this brand new this university, you got this university launch, you got your brand new podcast as well. So what was the thought process behind that? Is it just another great way for you to add value to your community and your students?
Yeah, from my standpoint, I've never been I'm not a great salesperson or a really good marketer, but I know I create content well. Like that is so anytime we've been able to market our business, it's through sort of education marketing, through free courses, free classes, free blog posts. And so the podcast we're actually calling it a pod class because it fits more in line with our brand and what we do. So it's more of a 30-minute instructional, actionable sort of step-by-step lesson that they get, as opposed to I am bringing guests on, but I'm calling them more instructors as opposed to interviewers, because that really fits our brand and our mission as well. So that people are coming away with actionable takeaways that they're saying, hey, if this podcast if the courses over at the university are, half as good as the podcast, then maybe there's some value for me to check it out. So it's more of like a teaser for them to say, if they like our teaching style and what we do, then maybe it might land them over at our university. So, and I've enjoyed it. I love the podcast so far. It's been great. So it's called the Freelance Pod Class. We're not trying to be cute. It's nice. Just the name fits our brand and our sort of education business as well.
That's
fantastic.
Great. Yeah, no, podcast is great. And so I've linked it there. So if you guys want to check that out, subscribe to the podcast. It's all there. That's great. Got a question here for you, Craig. So I think this kind of leads into some best practices and maybe a couple tips. But Amy's wondering, were you profitable from the very beginning, or did you take some time to invest first?
Yeah. So going back in 2008, we bootstrapped our company except for, and so I'm Canadian. And so we took a loan from the Business Development Bank of Canada. You Canadians will know BDC.
Yeah.
BDC, yeah.
And so back in 2007, they had this technology sort of initiative where they were funding internet-based startup companies, and we fell under the umbrella of that program. And we took a small loan, which we've since paid off years ago. But that was the catalyst. And the problem, and you guys will find this interesting because Thinkific didn't exist back in 2008. So we couldn't find a platform that we liked to build our courses on. So I outsourced it to a company in offshore, I think it was Belarus or something like that. And I spent an exorbitant amount of money on, I don't even want to mention how much money I spent on this, to create this custom learning platform that now this day and age, I mean, it didn't even have, 10% of the features that you can access through a tool like Thinkific now. And so when we switched to you guys in 2016, I was like, just like slowly, our CMS, our learning management system was literally like dying. It was coming to a screeching halt, and we needed to jump off into another platform. And fortunately, Thinkific was the perfect landing spot for us from there. So yeah, I think this day and age, if I was starting an online university or a course creation business, man, you could definitely bootstrap it. It's so cost effective. I mean, platforms like Thinkific are like full service 360 degree platforms that are super cost effective. And so I didn't have that luxury those years. And so I spent a lot of money that I wish I could have got back, but it was all part of the learning journey too.
Part of the learning journey. Yeah.
I was going to say it's a very similar story to what so Greg, our founder, that's pretty much that was his situation. He had a course, he couldn't really find a way to deliver it online. End up having to build it himself, and then he was getting inquiries, people saying, "How did you build this?" It's like, well, him and his brother Matt, I think they challenged themselves to get it built, get an MVP built in a few months, and so the rest is history, really. So it is funny how when you get pushed into these situations, like great things can come out of it as well.
Yeah, and to answer the person's question about profitable, it was year 3 where we actually got profitable. The first 2 years, we're paying off this loan, and we're just, our student base was small in those first couple of years. So as you get known, and again, for us, it came down, if we could create great courses and then educate people through webinars, which we did. That's how we ended up attracting our student base, is through, things like live workshops, live webinars, free courses, things like that. So sometimes you got to if you're a course creator, use that strength on the marketing front, and it'll serve you well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, that's really good. I want to say hello to a few people that are joining us just now, Shivani and Brian, and we've also got Alex, who has a really good comment here as well. So I'm going to ask a quick question here from Brian. He had a question, and it was, for courses that were getting low engagement, Craig, did you ever rework them or give them more value, or just let them kind of be part of the membership, part of that Netflix option? Yeah, did you tweak them at all, or did you do anything with them, or just kind of leave them as is?
Yeah, both and. So what we do, so like I think I was telling you guys in the outset, we run on a semesterly basis. So we have 3 launches a year, one in January, one in May, and one in September. And in each one of those semesters, like you would see at a traditional university, we roll out new curriculum. And so we'll have new certifications, new courses. And in fact, at the end of this week, because we're coming at the end of April, I do an event for our whole community. And I say, it's kind of like an unveil. I say, this is what, based on your surveys, based on our research, this is the lineup for the next 4 months. And so it's sort of a retention strategy as well. Because if we put great courses in there that they like and they see coming up, they're like, okay, maybe I'll stick around for a few more months as well. And what we also do during those events is I do a retiring of certain courses. So there's certain courses that, for example, we did one on we had a Google Plus course, and things like our Google Hangouts and technology that completely had changed, that I would have to, completely revamp it or retire it. So we're constantly either adding new, updating existing, or retiring old. But I encourage the person that asked that question, never ever leave a course in there that's irrelevant or that doesn't meet the needs of your audience. If it's not getting the engagement that you want, I'm not saying that it's irrelevant course, but it might give you some information that maybe it's missing the mark to some degree. Because I know as a course creator, I'm kind of, especially early on, I created courses sometimes that I thought were cool and that I thought, of course, people are going to love this, and I lost money on them because I'd launched them and they did poorly, and I got away temporarily from what does my market want, what do they need, what do their clients need. So yeah, we're constantly recycling and improving or deleting courses.
And then I think that's a nice thing, in my opinion. When you have a membership, people are paying because they want to have that like the latest up-to-date information, right? And so that membership allows you to not worry about like, okay, are they going to buy the next course? You just keep providing, value, inside your community, or you update your course and things like that. So
totally. Yeah.
I've got a couple other questions here, and I know we're going over time, Craig, so appreciate your time.
No problem.
I want to say what's up to our friend Dan Knowlton, probably joining us from London. Good to have you here, Dan. And Alex Lyons. So Alex was saying, this is really helpful. This approach is, aspirational school model for him. His long-term dream is to go to a membership-style school with dozens of courses. So he loves the podcast label as well. And so right now he's got 2 courses so far, and on Thinkific. Awesome, Alex. And he says he just needs a few more dozen courses to go to, I guess, build sort of this membership. What's your take on like what would be a minimum number of courses for somebody to start thinking about maybe moving over to a membership style model of for their courses?
Yeah, and I think it also depends on the size of the course too. Like you could go to like, say, let's use Skillshare as an example, and a course might be 15 minutes. Whereas some of our courses might be 10 to 15 hours. So I would say, we switched over after we obviously had a critical mass of courses, but I would say 10 courses would be a good number. I think if you get into the 2, 3, 4, 5, and they may be amazing courses. I think it becomes just, you haven't quite hit that critical mass. But if you get to a place of maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on the size of it, depending on how much interaction each course has and how long they take, you certainly could build that in. And I know some people have had different models where a guy that I know, he took his flagship course and then it was like 12 modules, and then he broke it into a course each. So each course was 12. So we have 12 courses out of this. And then he didn't go with a pure subscription model. He went with a 12-pay model. So he basically said, I'm going to give you a new module every month for 12 months. And so that's not a pure subscription model, but it was a way for him to take one course and somewhat turn it into a pseudo recurring revenue model as well.
Right. So yeah, there's different ways, but yeah, I like that number 10, right? And then I guess it depends also how often you're building new courses. So, likely if you at least launch one course each month, then you need to bring value, right, Craig? Like you need to bring value each month so that somebody's not looking at their credit card statement and like, hey, what am I getting out of this membership? And I think also, Alex, if you pay attention to what Craig's built, he's also built a community. Maybe if you want to talk as well, there's other things that's part of this membership that it looks like you have a find a freelancer page, right? So, I don't know, that's more like a job board or like a marketplace.
Well, you touch on a good point, Rob, because beyond the courses, you could get away with a smaller set of courses, maybe 5 or 6, if you sort of amplify the offer with other things. So for example, one of the things we have is called our App Lab. So we have someone that's one of our trainers actually, and she's an expert in mobile apps. And so she teaches on how you power your business using tools like Google Drive or Trello or time tracking software. And so each of them are 20 minutes long. And so they're not full courses, but she's just been adding these left, right, and center to sort of amplify our offer. The other thing we added was checklists, resources, and guides. So freelancers need a lot of like contract templates and onboarding templates and social media startup checklists and all these things. And so we have about 125 guides and checklists that we've just continued to add. And those things are easy to create. It's much easier to create a worksheet than it is to create a 10 modular course. So if you want to amplify your offer, think about what is beyond the course, short tutorials, one-to-one live workshops. If you look at our university, we have 3 live touch points every month. We've got a Facebook Friday where we get on and do something like this, like we're doing here. We do a live virtual office hours where they can come and interact with us. We do a live workshop because some of our students still like, is it synchronous or asynchronous? Whatever. Live, they like live training. And so we offer that to meet that need in addition to the on-demand library of courses. So if you want to beef up your subscription site quickly, start doing live stuff because that might be a quick way to offer ongoing touch points per month and give people the value that they need to continue to see that, like you said, Rob, that thing on their credit card showing up every month.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can also record that, and then that can turn into its own course as well, whatever those lives are. We have a lot of course creators that do that as well. Awesome. I know we've gone way over time. Is there any sort of, tips for anyone that is building a membership site? Anything that you can share, sort of like, something that you've learned as you've been on this journey of building this amazing, membership site, some mistakes to avoid.
Yeah, again, I said it earlier, but focusing too much on marketing and less on the student experience. So that would be my number one. If you take away anything that I think we've done a lot of things not very well, I'll be honest. But the one thing we've done well is we care about our students. And if you were to talk to them, they would say that Craig, his wife, the team, we really feel they actually care about us, even though we haven't actually met them. So invest in your student experience. What the trap is for, in the digital marketing space, I used to work with, I won't mention any names, but I used to work with a pretty large internet marketer, and they would do multi-million-dollar launches. And I was part of the course design team with him. And what would happen is they would do this big launch, and they would have this huge influx of students. And then the first 2 weeks in the community, everybody was there. They're supporting everybody. The love is there. Like the questions are being answered. And then you'd get into week 3 and week 4, it was like a friggin' ghost town. Like it was just like the love is gone. There's no support because they spent so much time launching and putting people in the course, and they spent very little time on saying, how can we invest in their success? Not just for the first 2 weeks, but every single day that they retain a membership. So that's my big takeaway for some of you is focus on investing in your students. Do whatever it takes to make sure they have a better experience than they possibly can imagine, and continue to improve on that. That's why you'd mentioned Rob Galvin. A shout out to him. We hired Rob Galvin based on your recommendation because we wanted to make our student experience even better, so that our students, if there was an issue they were having, let's say with the learning dashboard, now it's much more intuitive and easy to use, things like that. The second thing I would say is make sure you have an evergreen plan in place. So the fellow that was talking about having 2 courses, it's easy to update 2 courses. It's hard to update 70 courses, which we have. And so the way we do that is there's a person on our team that her responsibility is to flag courses, and we have certain update times during the year that we have to update a course or refer to it or review it. So usually it's in a 90-day interval. We'll look at our course and saying, what's out of date? That tutorial doesn't make sense anymore. We got to switch this. So you've got to have an evergreen plan, or you run the risk of having a large membership site with courses that are irrelevant and out of date, and that you'll get big pushback on that, where people are like, this technology doesn't even work anymore. So that would be the other one. And the last thing I would say is just start, and this is sort of cliche a bit, but it's keep simple and start small. Don't focus on scaling your business too quick, because if you scale with too many students too quickly, what happens? The customer experience goes down the tubes. It will. You can only support and give a quality experience to a critical mass of students. So don't grow too quickly. I love what Seth Godin said in his recent book. He talks about focus on getting better, not bigger. And he said that, and I think that's something we've lived for the last 5 years. Is not so much. I mean, we have grown, but we've certainly focused a lot on getting better as a company in supporting our students. So, a few thoughts.
No, that's fantastic. And I mean, you guys need to rewatch this in the replay and just take a bunch of notes, because I think you guys are, Craig, you and your wife and your whole team there are doing it really well, and just not just building great courses, but really a fantastic community, which, you know, I can really appreciate from what I do here at Thinkific, and you know, what you guys are doing. I know there's a ton of other things that we, you know, could really speak on, and I know that you work a lot with affiliates, and so quick shout out if there's anybody watching this that wants to maybe do some type of JV or anything like that with Craig and Freelance U, reach out to him, because affiliates is one of his biggest. You would say probably one of your biggest channels for growth. Yeah,
we have about 500 affiliates, and again, we're coming up for a launch here in May. So if you have an audience that are in the freelance space, or people that are looking to start at-home businesses, you know, maybe we should connect. So.
Awesome, Craig. Well, thank you so much. It's always really good to speak to a fellow Canadian.
Yeah.
And so yeah,
no
really awesome. Yeah, no, honorary Canadian. Yeah, no, really good. Really appreciate your time. And if anybody has any questions, if you're watching this on the replay, there's some questions that we just didn't get to. We will answer them. And Craig's part of our community in the Facebook studio, on the Thinkific studio. So drop your questions in, and we'll make sure to tag Craig, and hopefully you'll have some time to answer them. I'm sure he will. And then I'll put all the links into the comments as well. So any parting words there, gentlemen, Craig and Patty?
Craig, thank you so much, mate. There's a really, really fantastic session, and second what Rob said. People should be taking some notes on this. Some really great stuff here.
Awesome.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say, and it is a plug for Thinkific, but and I wish my wife was on here, because she's worked a lot on the integrations with and even customizing, working with Rob Galvin. You guys are doing a terrific job. You basically allowed us to take our vision of what the student experience we wanted and bring it into reality. And the customization that we can do now with sort of the new site builder has been amazing. So yeah, you guys are, and it's great that you're a Canadian company as well. So one day I am from Vancouver originally, so I'm going to get there in the summer. So hopefully we can cross paths.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll do another live follow-up, and it'll be in the studio this time.
That'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we'd love that. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for everyone that joined us live. And yeah, everybody, I can't even name all the names, but thank you so much. And we'll catch you guys on the next one next week. All the best. Take care.
Bye.
Guys, see you later.
Bye.